the Prince Nymph and the wrap tackle of CDC, we're now going to move on to the RS2. RS2, which stands for rim semblance number 2, is a great example of another way in which to use CDC. We're just going to use a little tuft of it for an emerger wing. And probably by far CDC is most widely used in such manners on just about every emerger that's created around the country. So let's just tie a basic RS2, and we'll show you how to tie in the CDC for that purpose. And we're going to get our thread on here, and we're ready to tie in our tail. For that, we'll select a couple of the mayfly tails or microfibbits, and we'll tie in probably about half the length of the hook shank, and then wrap back with our thread. Come in, figure 8 through them. That way they're going to stay separated for you, and makes it just that more visible to the fish that it is kind of looking like a mayfly tail. Now, instead of the old standard muskrat or dub body, we're going to use, just to jazz it up a little bit, is some D-rib. The reason I like to use the D-rib, because once again we're going to get that definite segmentation when we wrap it forward. To start with, before you tie in your D-rib, you can always cut it at an angle, so that way when you tie it in, just tie it by the tip, and that way you won't have a little bump when you begin wrapping your body forward. I like to have just a hair taper, from the hook eye up into the thorax with this, or whatever body material you decide on using. So I'll just build a little thread underbody, and we'll wrap this D-rib forward. First wrap's going to be fairly tight, as well as the second and third. Now as I come right on up the hook shank, I'm starting to ease up on the D-rib with less tension, and what is happening, I'm building in a natural taper along with the tapered underbody that I did with my thread. And I'm sure you can tell from the segmentations and the nice little taper through the POV camera just how close we can zoom in here and give you the greatest possible detail so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So we'll put a little bit of thread down here, and we're ready for our wing. For the wing, what I'm going to be using is the CDC. And for the most part, this is probably how CDC is used the most. It's just for a little emerger or kind of a tuft wing. What we're going to do is even up the tips of the fibers, or the feathers, just so it's nice and neat looking. But if you want, you can always peel off fibers, tie them in, and then you can cut your wing to length. So I'll go back, measure my wing so it's just about to the hook point. Tie in our CDC, and it kind of helps if it kind of splays out a little bit, just like it would for an elk hair caddis down along the sides. And we'll cut off our excess, and we're going to tie in some legs as well. For that, we're going to use some partridge. Here again, we'll just come in with our sharp stonefly scissor tips here, cut out a V, and we'll just stroke some of these fibers back. Maybe we'll use a few more right there. Kind of bunch them all up a little bit, and I'm going to measure it so it's the length of the CDC, and we're just going to wrap right over the top of it. And what that does, by cutting out the V, you kind of separate the partridge into two little groups, making it look like legs. And if you happen to get a few fibers that stay on top of your hook shank, I kind of like that appearance myself. That way you get kind of a modeling effect to your wing. Or another option is just to tie the partridge on the underside of the fly. And that way it just makes it a little bit easier and more in the lines of a nymph pattern. To finish off the fly, what we're going to be doing is adding some dubbing to the head area. What we're going to be using is some microfine dubbing. Since we were tying this in an olive color, we're going to select the blue-winged olive color just so it matches the body of our fly. Just take just small amounts, that way you have better control over your dubbing and you can make it real tight. And just wrap back, and what you're doing is covering up where you tied in everything, and you form a little head. Then you're ready to just finish it off. Just like so. And you can kind of splay it out if you want to. That's just another way in which CDC can be used, especially on the popular emerger patterns that are used today.